All right.
Super exciting.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right.
first we're going to be starting with the preview, I think. But
Yep.
yeah, so
Let's
let's
roll
get to that.
Okay, great, guys. So, first of all, this is the very first pilot season of Tower Tag that we've run here at the Virtual Athletics League. So we want to give a shout out to some of our co-hosts and sponsors this time. So VR Master League is doing all the casting, which is awesome. They have a lot of background history in shooters. They've done Onward and Pavlov and Final Assault, so just tons of professionalism there. NightFiree will be the caster today.
Yeah, he's been casting the tournament this entire time. Big shout out to him.
Yep, for sure. And so, if you have thoughts and prayers to send the universe, send thoughts and prayers for NightFire's voice. So he's an awesome caster. Springboard has been a really good co-host on this one as well. What we've done is when we've announced the tournament worldwide for the arcades that are in our league, the very first version of Tower Tag has been available on the Springboard platform, which is new because Tower Tag was previously only available select through the developers. So this is awesome to see it get a much wider release worldwide.
Yeah, super exciting.
Yep. So for this first tournament, we basically went with 16 North American arcades and 16 European arcades. And we were able to draw some from those who had Tower Tag for a while, some who are new to Tower Tag, and a lot from the background of the history of our league. So that's where we're at currently. So the very first thing we're going to talk about, beyond just the basic structure of this, is we're going to talk a little bit about VR esports and why that's different. So, because these type of broadcasts are incredibly new to the industry. When people see VR esports on Twitch, it's a little bit insane. VR esports like VR Master League and us and the Collegiate VR League and everybody has been doing this for well over a year now. But and VR's been out for 3 years. But even still, when we saw Half-Life Alyx drop, people are what is this VR thing, right? I remember when Onward was on Twitch and made it to the front page of Twitch, gamers' mind just pretty much exploded, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, even just standard esports has only been really a big thing for the past 10-ish years.
Mm-hmm.
PC gaming has been around since the 90s. And so now that we're here, we've picked it up just 2 years after the launch of VR, which is a incredibly early timeline, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, so I remember watching that Onward stream and people were wow, when you actually duck, you get down on the ground, right? That's totally new, that's totally different. There's so much more physicality in VR esports, and I really view it as the next evolution of the shooter, right? So one thing that's different in VR is if you're going to reload, you're not just pressing the B or X button or whatever. You're actually physically making the motions to reload your gun.
Yeah.
Which is so different, right? Until
crazy.
you've reloaded in a game like Onward or Pavlov or a game that has a reload mechanic, you're not just waiting for the animation, you're actually doing the reload function, right?
Yeah, and I've been to arcades with rail shooters, and some of them try to make it a little more realistic. Maybe you have to cock back the gun you're given, or put in just hit a button on the magazine. But this one you actually have to make the full range of motion, which I think is absolutely crazy. When people talk about different mediums, there's movies, there's books, but people always say games are the most immersive one because it's the most interactive, and VR seems to just be the next evolution of that.
Yeah, VR is definitely next generation for shooters and whatnot. So anyway, we're going to talk a bit about our league, just spend a minute talking about that and how we got here. So we're actually here at our broadcast studio in Salt Lake City. We started doing Space Pirate Trainer tournaments all the way back in 2016.
Yeah.
And at least for this current generation of VR, this was some of the very first tournaments held worldwide, we think. Just doing some of the local ones. We were one of the very first VR arcades, first 5 or 6 open in North America. So when we started holding VR esports tournaments, people just lost their minds. It was really awesome. We'd have pizza, we'd have Super Smash Brothers and stuff like that. But it was an awesome time. We do 16-person single elimination brackets for Space Pirate Trainer. And anyway, we had somebody join us from another team. We really started to focus on what would benefit arcades worldwide, and not just the next physical expansion or next arcade location. We got into an accelerator in San Francisco called Boost VC, and they pushed us to focus on what made sense to benefit arcades worldwide. So that's when we started working on the league. We held a small tournament with Sprint Vector. That was just 3 arcades. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I think we got a shout out to the Servios team, which we've done events with now. But and then we did a 10 tournament Blasters of the Universe. And then we met the Beat Saber team down in the basement at GDC, in this nightclub where all the air conditioning had broken, and it just been the Beat Saber devs and us, and the game hadn't released yet, and we're like, hey, you guys are awesome, maybe we'll work together down the future. So we went with a press release after Beat Saber had been released with just 50 arcades, and that was super ambitious. We're like, this is going to be huge, nobody's ever done 50 arcades. Anyway, we just ended up with 168 arcades in 24 countries worldwide, so it was massive. And we were really happy to do the official Beat Saber tournament working hand in hand with the Beat Saber team. So since then, we've done a lot of top 10 titles like Space Pirate Trainer, Arizona Sunshine. We did Battle Wake earlier this year, Space Junkies, just a ton of VR esports. I think that's it, right? As far as background.
Yeah,
we have more stories.
So. There's a lot of little tidbits
donuts,
we can tell for sure.
Early morning coffee, things like that. We'll spare everybody the stories. So
man, late nights with international tournaments though, for sure.
Right.
Casting from America with European things, or oh my gosh.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna switch back here to Tower Tag. Let's actually throw up some footage from the World Conference in VR that was held recently in China.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. So you're going to see a full Tower Tag setup.
Yeah, it's just super short clip, but super amazing.
Yep.
压制，三号这边还没有往回拉，还在往前跳，很凶，还凶死了一个。我要拿你的头，我要赢。是的，哇，我是没有想因为刚刚1号是一个满血的状态。那个血他还敢往前跳，没有选择后退，在这样的情况下。是的。他进步也拼对了，但是目前比分还是一个2比2的平。这一局是打了一个平。
Okay, so that was the video from the World Conference in China, and that's just, Nathan, what did you think of that setup there?
Oh man, that was crazy. I think that it looks a lot like the setup I saw from the League of Legends tournament when Worlds was hosted in China. I wonder if it's the same stadium, but that really adds a lot of legitimacy. I feel like, we get to play in that same stadium that one of the most popular games in the world gets to be on, and we get to be there seeing the physical players actually move instead of having cameras just on players on their computers. It's really a whole lot more immersive, and you feel like it's more of a traditional sport.
Yeah, and that's totally what we're about here at VAL, and you saw the players over there in China, they're dodging, they're ducking. Tower Tag is awesome, and it's perfectly suited for that. So we're going to talk a little bit about the history of Tower Tag and just what makes that a little bit different, and just talk a little bit about the team. So the Tower Tag team, VR Nerds is the developer. They are actually located in Germany, and a fun fact about them is that one person on their team, one of the founders, actually won the paintball world champion with Germany in 2011.
I did not know that. That's
yeah,
super
isn't that
cool.
Crazy? So
Yeah.
Philip, he's out there, hit him up. So and say, hey, guess what I know about you? You're a paintball world champion, right?
I feel like that's on a quick side note, I feel like that's a big difference between the VR athletes and the traditional esports athlete. Not to slight them or any way,
Oh
but
yeah,
VR
'cause
athletes tend to be
League of
pretty
Legends
fit.
are super skilled, right?
Yeah,
So
super skilled.
Yeah.
But the VR athletes, they tend to be fairly physically fit.
right, yeah. I'm pretty sure Logan Theobald, he's topping the Beat Saber leaderboards.
Yeah.
He could currently run a mile pretty fast, I think,
He's
right?
jacked.
Well, maybe if he used his arms to run.
Yeah, just weird bear crawl.
But anyway, he also saves bees, I hear, or children from bees. So Logan does great. Anyway, so what we're seeing a lot of VR esports here is we're seeing an inspiration from the world of traditional sports, and Tower Tag is actually based on a sport, right? So there's not any futuristic lore or anything like that attached to it. What it's really based on is you get your opponent out, right? You're not killing your opponent, it's not a cyber punk future city. It's actually just a sport based in the future, right? And it's really just an eye catcher. The very first version was just like some real like mock-ups and like, hey, let's have some platforms and everything right there. It doesn't need a huge space. So actually the very first uses of tower tag were obviously in VR, obviously the VR Nerds location, but laser tag centers have actually picked this up.
Oh, that's cool.
So we actually have a laser tag center, which is totally unique. They're one of the final 4 contestants, and that's Laserland. And when we talked to them, they're like, hey, we're not a VR arcade, but we just picked up these 4 VR sets, and it's actually proved super popular there. So we are gonna show actually a few pictures from a tower tag setup. And so we're gonna show VR room, actually. So, you know, that right there, that's, let's switch back to that just one more time. So you see that right there, like they actually have the base. The base is made out of plywood typically, and then you have like a steel frame for safety, and then you actually have the towers, which are made out of super thick acrylic, right? People just love those towers. They're super eye-catching in arcades that have them.
And it's just fun to have something like to interact with VR, you know, leads a little bit more into like augmented reality or those like old Wii things you could get, like the Wii gun and like all that, and the Wii Fit.
Yeah, so let's actually show that in action with VR room. Okay, so shout out to VR Room, which put in like 8 teams in this tournament. We'll go over the brackets here in a bit. But obviously that setup has worked amazing for them. They just get so much return play. They get corporate parties, they get birthday parties. Everyone loves the towers in VR Room, and it's been like ultra successful and like a smash hit for them to have those full tower setups. But you can see why, right? Like when you check that out, like that is immediately eye-catching. You walk into a VR arcade location, that's one of the very first things people are going to want to play.
Yeah, and this is like a super simple game that you can easily get into it. Like you just really quickly explain the rules, and it's like super simple, super fun, and all around good time.
Yeah, so people can pick that up in 30 seconds, which is really key on the arcade scene. Okay, we are gonna go over one of the brackets here shortly. And pull up how the tournament has been going.
Yeah, so as you can see, the European bracket, we have about 8 teams on the VR room site, which is insane. They're a VR arcade based in the Netherlands, and they pretty much take up half the European bracket, which I am completely astounded by.
Yeah, so we have these brackets up on Challenge, and we're just going to run through a quick recap of how the tournament is going so far. So I'm going to...
Yeah, so as you were saying about the, sorry, I think we just had a quick technical difficulties with the audio right there.
Okay, so first we're going to cover some of the EU matches, right? So we had VR Cafe put in an incredible amount of rooms. They have 8 total teams. And they actually played VR Cafe 1 versus VR Room 2 as a couple of play-in brackets to this, so you can kind of see those pigtail brackets. And then we have VR Room 8 versus VR Cafe. Some of those advanced to the top of the bracket. VR Reality was knocked out fairly quickly against Laserland here at the top. And then we actually have Tower Tag and VR2 Go. They advanced pretty quickly onto Laserland, which has proved a super tough team to beat. VR Reality maybe had a bit of bad luck because VR Reality actually won the Skyfront tournament.
Yeah, no, they were really good in that one.
So both tough teams in that first match. We had Limitless and Nautilus. Nautilus progressed on for there. Then we had Vertigo, which has participated in some previous Valve events. But this was really the first time they put together a PvP team. And they ended up playing against the team in Barcelona. And then we had VRML, which knocked out quickly the second Vertigo team. Yeah. So, you know, that proved to be super tough opponents right there in the first one.
Yeah, just this bracket in general, we've had a lot of like new up-and-coming arcades that have knocked out a lot of the old favorites from previous
Yeah, the
tournaments.
VR
It's really
Reality
exciting
one
to
was a
see.
bit of an unexpected, right? But credit to Laserland for just running such a professional event there. Okay, and then we move on to the other brackets. Once we get down to the final four over here, we had VR Cafe, right, which proved to be the best of the VR room teams. And that was the awesome setup you saw. They made it really far in the event, but Laserland just proved to be too dominant in this and just knocked them out. So in terms of the VR room teams, VR Cafe 1 was their best right there. So VR Room actually has a couple locations. That's an incredible story. If you ever, they've made the national news media, you know, and they have at least one location in Amsterdam. They actually had the second team in the final four here, VR Room 5, and both of the VR Room teams were knocked out. So, but they made it really incredibly far. And this is actually the very first PvP tournament with us here at Val.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
So they did an awesome, incredible job for making as far as they did. Then we had Laserland, and then we had VRML, which are both German teams. So the developers located in Germany, and the two
home field
finalists.
advantage.
Home field advantage, right? But VRML is a newer VR arcade. They opened up earlier this year. They've just been having incredible success with that, and they have proved super tough opponents to beat here. So switching back over to the North American bracket, we had Virtuality's Advance Beyond Heroes. We had Outer Limits take out VR Place. And then we had VR Place move on past Parallel. Although shout out to Parallel, they ran a sweet, super hot speedrun tournament here recently. VR Junkies Arizona, which has been a super strong team. I think they won Kingdom Brawl and a few others. We had XS VR versus Spot. XS moved on. And then, of course, we had the Spectrum team. So we're going to show a quick match here from Spectrum in just a minute. But as we advance to the final four here, Outer Limits has done awesome. Quick background on Outer Limits, they won Archangel about a year ago, so they have proved a super tough team to beat. VR Place 1 also has the tower setups. They made it to the final four. XS VR had a team put together by Pesky Cashew. XS VR was a new team here. And they lost to Spectrum, which is a bad luck of the draw because Spectrum just won Battle Week.
Yeah.
And then you have Bluff City VR, which did an incredible job. They actually upset one of the Spectrum teams here, and then moved on to face Spectrum. The Spectrum 2 versus Bluff City was a lot of people's one of their favorite matches. It ended up being one of the closest matches of the tournaments. And then we have two total powerhouses here with Outer Limits and Spectrum VR wrapping the bracket.
Yeah, and just a note on Spectrum as well, like they didn't just win the battle weight competition, they like completely blew it out of the water. They were the ones who figured out that you could get like a maximum score on the system. It was crazy.
Yep, so they just dominated. Okay, so that's what we have here. We're going to go over a quick highlight of one match. We're going to show XS VR versus Spectrum to give an idea of what matches came up before. And then we are going to do the final four. So quick outline of the schedule for today. We are going to do the North American finals first. So the North American finals are, again, those two powerhouse teams. So Spectrum, which won Battle Wake, Archangel, which
Outer Limits, that one.
Which has the Archangel magic there. And then we're going to go with the two German teams. That's what we're going to do. And then we're going to switch over to VRML. So we're really happy everybody here is here with us today. This basically concludes our pre-show. We are going to switch over to that earlier match, and then VRML is going to pick up the rest of the hosting for here.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. On board XS VR, the top fragger for Ice. He has to readjust. He has to find this pick, but he can't get any land movement. Shots coming in from VR Nerd, able to deny the cap. And now Fishman getting assist from his team. Ensai there duoing on that tower cap, and now 4-0. They are absolutely running over this XS squad with coordination and precise shots. Landing those kills is so important because it does add to your land control. If you get these picks right here, if VR Nerd goes down like this, that's 5 to 8 seconds that he's respawning. He cannot be helping. He cannot defend the land grabs. He cannot be grabbing land. It's missed time. that Spectrum are really good at capitalizing on. They recognize that once they get a pick, on board XS VR, the top fragger for Ice. He has to readjust. He has to find this pick, but he can't get any land movement. Shots coming in from VR Nerd, able to deny the cap. And now Fishman getting assist from his team. Ensai there duoing on that tower cap, and now 4-0. They are absolutely running over this XS squad with coordination and precise shots. Landing those kills is so important because it does add to your land control. If you get these picks right here, if VR Nerd goes down like this, that's 5 to 8 seconds that he's respawning. He cannot be helping. He cannot defend the land grabs. He cannot be grabbing land. It's missed time that Spectrum are really good at capitalizing on. They recognize that once they get a pick that they can cap. Here comes Kensai, looks like, or sorry, Brand Domino's trying to get the point, but he can't all by his lonesome. I mean, look at that. Look at that team fire there. They had, I think they had all 3 players shooting at the same one there. And here comes the team push. There's going to be 2 on both sides as they do start the cap. It's going to be a quick one, 5-0 in no time. Spectrum just keep tacking on. I believe that there is another matchup just after this. The winner from here will be facing off. To double check on who it is that they will be competing against. But oh, look at this. VR Nerd able to get behind the Ice Squad. Tries to cap, and we're into a base race, and they do not get it in time. The teamwork on the fire objective ends up paying off, and they snag the point just before Ice can, adding on to their scoreline 6-0. Good teamwork coming in from this Ice Squad. They managed to push up. They can really secure some strong land grabs now with these respawns. Ooh, and this is good teamwork coming in from this squad right now. XSVR and VR Nerd really being a serious threat, and now for the first time, Spectrum on the back foot. XSVR is trying to cap, and he can get Heist on the board. XS finally gets a point up there, but is it too little too late? I think now XS has roughly 50 seconds to get 5 points. That's a point every 10 seconds. I don't even think they can get to objective that fast. They certainly are trying. Quick pushes up to the center with the full squad. Nobody's sitting back on defense, and maybe that's what they have needed to have done this whole time. Comes the push from Fishman. Again, getting that central position. He's unshootable through that glass, and he's capturing the points surrounding it so that it's easy for him to move. Fishman is losing a little bit, and XSVR is adjusting accordingly. A nice job from him. But this is not looking good. Oh, a good set of kills from XS. Keep things alive. Preventing another point, but again, too little, too late. Timer runs out. Spectrum end up going up 6-1 for map number 2. I think that is it. I don't believe we play out the third map. That will be the victors of this series.
Yeah, and so that was the conclusion to the Spectrum versus XS match. As you can see, it was a pretty hard 6-1 smash for that round. I think they won 2-0 for that, which was pretty incredible. Spectrum is one of our powerhouse arcades.
So we're just going to show, we threw up a picture in the Discord of the Outer Limits team, but this is the Spectrum VR arcade. They actually have 2 locations over in Fort Wayne, Indiana. But as you can see, they're very serious about their esports. This is their awesome setup, as they have Space Pirate Trainer up there. And they are one of the teams to beat. So we're going to see how they do shortly. You can see how serious they are about the league as well, since they have a full hall of wall of glory right here, right? Very early days of VR esports. And we are super excited to see these matches. They are loading into the rooms right now, and we are going to start seeing that here shortly. So best of luck to everybody today. This is the long-awaited conclusion of the very first pilot tournament for Tower Tag for Season 1, and we look forward to more Tower Tag action in the future. We wish Outer Limits good luck today, Spectrum, good luck, Laserland, and that's it. So we're going to know the finals here shortly, and then they're going to do prize delivery, and good luck to all.
Welcome everybody to the final, the final of the Tower Tag VR Athletics League / VRML Sports Tournament. Man, that's a mouthful. And we can bring that down. Let's just call it the Tower Tag Tournament, okay? That's what we got going on here, and it should be some high-octane action, as you saw from the fantastic duo over at the Valve VR Esports headquarters. They have prepared you for this event. They have highlighted each squad, and today we'll be hopping into an interesting set of matches. Spectrum VR versus Outer Limits, two teams that ultimately dominated the group stages and the semifinals leading into this. Well, I guess this is the semifinal. No, this is the NA finals. Sorry. Depends on how you want to look at it, right? Because we're going to have the NA finals, then we're going to have the EU finals shortly after this, and then we're going to take the winners of both of those and have them in a final, a world final, if you will. We should call this the Tower Tag World Tournament, okay? That's what we're going to do. This is the Tower Tag Worldwide. Tower Tag Worldwide, coming at you. Both squads in lobby, ready to go and dive into this first set of rounds. It's going to be Gold Tower. It's going to be on Sneaky. Seen that map before. Got a lot of potential for team play. Give me a second. I'm going to pop in, notify the teams that we are ready to dive into the action, and we should be hopping into round one shortly. Don't go anywhere. Both squads in lobby, both squads getting loose and warmed up with their shots, making sure they're pinpoint accurate, because they need to be. I think without any further ado, let's hop in to our first round of this Tower Tag Finals. If you are just tuning in and you're not familiar with what Tower Tag is, the objective here is Goal Tower. Each team's trying to capture the enemy's goal. How you advance through the map is a bit unique in comparison to some other different locomotion styles. Here you have to capture the white towers that you see on your map. Once you capture and secure one, you can then teleport to it. So at the start of the round, what you'll see is each team capturing land, as we'll call it, and then pushing forward to the enemy's objective. You obviously get into a couple of firefights that get rather interesting. Kensai and Neptune in a bit of an exchange in the center. And controlling the center is really important. If they lose this central focus, it's going to be bad news for either one of these teams. Kensai recognizing this, and look at it, we already have a flank coming in. I think it's Fishman trying to get the objective. No, it was actually Brandominos. He does manage to secure one very early point. No, it was Fishman. One very early point for this squad. Now, once a team has scored, everything resets. All the land that you've grabbed resets, and Fishman instantly trying to recapture the south side. Finding Neptune in the center is going to be a big pick, but he's also taking fire from the back, and he goes down. A nice equal trade there to keep everybody on their toes. And then meanwhile on the south, we have a bit of exchange of fire. And more land capture coming in from the north. Ice looking good on these capture points. You can see the quick reactions from Spectrum to deny them that land grab. And look at this, they instantly, all three of them now, focusing their efforts on maintaining land control and now pushing up towards the objective. It's going to be bad news if they don't detect Fishman punt getting the code, capturing the OBJ, shots coming in. Oh, and we're having a bit of a base race. The capture coming in also from Mars on the other side, but not in time. Double horns just means double the points for Spectrum VR as they now push their lead up 2-0. Shots ringing out up onto that north side. Brandominos on a sneak on the south here. And uh-oh, this isn't looking good. It looks like Outer Limits having some connection troubles. So I do think we're going to have to potentially start this round. Go ahead and cut back to scoreboard while we figure out the issues here. Obviously now nobody's on the enemy playing field, so let's go ahead and round. Hey, I don't know what happened, but the other team feeds, so I stopped the round and we'll be jumping in shortly. I've gathered some information from my production team. Does look like we had a disconnection error there with Outer Limits. In terms of how the scoreline is going to be handled, not 100% certain. But, fortunate betting they'll have to go on. Bear with us as we hash out the technical difficulties. Reset those scores, because we're just not sure how this one's going to shake out quite yet. Also, if you are just tuning in while we have a brief moment in time, make sure to hit that follow button if you are enjoying the content. VR Master League hosts all sorts of esports for VR. We have leagues for Onward, for Echo Arena, for Space Junkies, Pavlov, Contractors, Final Assault, just finishing its group stages in their Season 2 this weekend, actually. And each one has their own respective channel. The best way to get involved in the VR esports scene, head on over to vrmasterleague.com and find all the different games that we have afforded in the VR Master League. Obviously, also get involved in the Virtual Athletics League in arcades. Make sure to reach out to myself, and I can put you in direct contact with the proper people. I guess I don't know how in the world I'm supposed to say his name. Nudge TXE. You also want to reach out to. Both squads are in lobby. Let me make sure they're both ready, and then we'll dive into this action shortly. Give me a sec. Okay, it does look like we've come to an agreement between both squads. We are going to do a reset here. We will start the match and have Spectrum score 2 points so that we can keep things relatively balanced, although there might be more time on the clock for these teams to score. In the end, it does mean that we are going to keep the integrity here. Those 2 points were scored legitimately. Both teams were in the lobby when it happened. So we'll just patiently wait while those scores are settled. Well, dive back in action. Thank you so much for tuning in and catching this excellent. I mean, this should be a very exciting tournament finals. This is the NA finals that we'll be spectating here today. Spectrum just pushing forward. They'll be grabbing 2 free points. That'll probably take, in total on the clock, 30 seconds. Pop back in. That last. Once that score is 2-0, we are back into the action. So, another free point coming in for Spectrum. The reset here now officialized, and now Outer Limits time to compete for the objective. They want to defend. At the very least, get themselves back on the board. We see Jupiter pushing up on the north side here, and it's all fair game. No free points going to either side. Both squads back in lobby. 3v3 action as Jupiter takes a couple of shots. Neptune as well in a bit of a tough situation. He gets scooped up and picked off. In the meanwhile, still shots raining in from the south. Does manage to find a pick before he can teleport And a lot of land is getting taken up right at the front door of this Outer Limits squad. They recognize that and find themselves with some very clutch picks. A lot of good defense ringing out here from this Outer Limits squad to deny push forward, sending 2 back from Spectrum VR, and they're now going to have to try and charge forward. They have very little land control, although up on this north side, it is exposed. Fishman, the OBJ capper, for Spectrum VR, almost secures his team a 3rd point. Can't quite get on the board. Now Fishman pushes forward this time. Who's boarding shots from Kensai landing there as Brandominos also in a bit of an exchange of fire. And Fishman finds one. Neptune goes down. That's 2 dead. And here comes a double cap from the squad of Spectrum VR. It's going to be extra fast with 2 focusing on the pillar. And they push themselves up 3-0. That one a contested point, as you can see, but Spectrum still pushing their lead forward. Fishman in a very dangerous spot. Finds 1 pick. Started to secure himself some land up towards the front side. In the meanwhile, Brandominos tries to cap. And now we also have Fishman securing himself a 4th point for Spectrum VR. And in this NA Finals, Spectrum are looking the strongest. Take a gander quickly at the overall KDs. And it's pretty close. No real blowout score lines right now. Just Spectrum with good land management. As they secure the right OBJs, they utilize their teamwork to capture even faster. Because when you put 2 on, you can get yourself forward a lot faster than anticipated. And Fishman here is in a position alongside Kensai. Secure this point, Brandominos. That was Kensai and Fishman tag teaming that objective, and again securing themselves another point. And in this first round of this best-of-3 series, Spectrum VR with a very commanding lead and still 4 minutes left. It's time for Outer Limits to come back. It's time for them to try and reevaluate, reassess what's happening here and how they can counteract the Spectrum VR aggression. I think what they need to do is just be better at securing that central land. You can also see here on the south, we do have Jupiter on a flank, and I think more flanks are going to draw the attention that they need to draw. Right now he's behind enemy lines. Fishman trying to secure an objective. Takes too much fire. He gets picked off. That forces the rotation from Neptune. He goes down, and now it's all up to Mars to defend against Kensai, landing his shots on the other side of the pillar here. Ooh, and a nice move there. Neptune defending a crucial point, getting some support from Mars on the other side. He gets quickly double teamed. That's going to be bad news when they lose these forward points, especially if they lose both of them. Here comes another double cap with 3:20 on the clock. This is going to be point number 6 for Spectrum VR. This southern aggression, it's going to be important for them, like I said, to secure these land points, but this is bad news. They've lost a little focus. It does look like Brandominos is in a dangerous position. Good shots from the backside of Neptune, I believe, securing that, and now Neptune has to find Fishman. Jupiter coming in for support, might be able to catch out the pick. Now they've grabbed a little bit of land control. Take a look at the mini-map in the bottom left corner there. You can see exactly how much land they control. Also underneath your score line, the bars here indicate the overall land control. And Fishman here on the other side does take some shots. One thing that's interesting I'm noticing with Spectrum is they're not afraid to drop the cap if they can find the picks. And Fishman there in an attempt to find the picks can't do it. Brandominos tucks in though, and he may be able to get himself another point. Spectrum go up 7-0 in this NA Finals. Whoever's watching this from the EU side has got to be quaking in their boots right now, because this is going to be a tough team to beat. A reminder that after this series, we will be going over to the EU Finals. And then the winners of both of these will be facing off in a World Finals. Brandomino's pushing up on the south side. Nobody's here to defend. Everyone from Outer Limits was pushing for that cap, and Brandomino's might find himself an uncontested point. He does, 8-0. And with a minute 30 left, I just don't know if Outer Limits VR can muster a comeback, at least in this first round. I think at this point what they need to do is they need to reassess how they've been approaching this squad, what they've been failing in doing, and I think the key point here that you're seeing the difference is that Spectrum are constantly team pushing. They've always got 2 on objective, and they've just basically put Outer Limits on the defense. They also seem a bit better at staying tucked in behind their pillars as Fishman now goes in to snag the objective. He gets picked off by Neptune, looking for that pick for quite some time. Ooh, but that pick didn't come in time, actually. That was a point scored for Spectrum VR. 35 seconds on the clock. 9-0 for Spectrum. They have a plan. They know how to enact it. They're pushing up the center. They're grabbing both sides. They're both grabbing both land points on opposite sides of the objective and then capping it together, because look at how fast the double cap is. And this is definitely, I think, one of the biggest deficits we've seen between teams right now. 10-0. 10 seconds left. That's going to be round number 1 into the hands of Spectrum in a pretty dang commanding fashion. Take a look at the top performers. Jupiter 7 and 9. But meanwhile, Kensai, the absolute MVP of the series, carrying his team, honestly, with 17 and 6. Finding those picks that he or to put his team up to a commanding lead. Pretty well done from the Spectrum squad. And they now take round 1. Very little contention. Makes you wonder how this round 2 is going to shake out. And frankly, this is do or die now for Outer Limits VR. If they cannot get themselves on the board here, if they cannot find this entire round, will mean Spectrum moving on to the World Finals. Let's pop in real quick to both squads, make sure they're ready for round 2 and get underway. Both squads readied up. Spectrum, obviously, very loose and ready to rock for this round number 2 and what could be the final round. Get underway. Do a quick refresher. If you are just tuning in, this is Tower Tag. It is a 3v3 goal-focused game. Each team's trying to capture the enemy's goal tower. In order to do so, they have to secure points of land that they can then teleport to and push towards the enemy objective. Map obviously labeled sneaky for a reason, as there are north and south lanes that can be secured where you can sneak around the enemy's central focus and try and capture the objective. And it's what we've seen happen a little bit on the Spectrum VR side. They definitely focus on securing those outer OBJ so that they can then push like they are doing now. Fishman in a dangerously forward position right by OBJ, and he's trying to get the support from his teammates to help, but can't get it in time. Another push coming in right on top of objective, gets a double teamed with a nice respawn defense hold. Uh-oh. Bad news for the Outer Limits squad as Fishman secures himself into that advanced position. They don't have the option of flanking on the north. They can't push forward and shoot him from the front because he tucks so well behind that pillar. And finally, oh no! Wow, Kensai, the savior, grabs his team a point. Comes in at the last minute, right when that Right when Fishman was picked off from capturing the objective, wrote circles around from the other side and secures Spectrum with a first point of round 2, although it's taken them a bit longer to get this point. And now we do have a bit of a base race. Mars on the objective, trying to secure it in time. Spectrum can't pile on and push it forward fast enough. I think that's what they were trying to do. Spectrum was trying to invest 2 or 3 up onto that objective so that they could double team it, but they couldn't get to it in time while the cap was coming in from Mars on the backside, and that's huge for Outer Limits VR. Now they've tied this round 2 up 1-1. We might get ourselves another base race. As you can see, the push here coming in from Fishman. In the meantime, you also have a push from Neptune, but he's a bit far away, and the double team swinging in. Hearing Spectrum with another quick point gets them up 2-1. A very fast answer back from this Spectrum team. See if Outer Limits can also react in kind. You can see that they are trying to secure some middle land as they do lose on those picks. Jupiter getting shot from the south by Brandominos. He needs to grab this bit of land so that he can push forward and get out of this tough spot he's in. Does manage to push, and now he's going to get flanked. Brandominos recognizing the threat here as Jupiter tries to secure himself, or his team, a second point. The base race coming in. Jupiter doesn't go down. And we're in to a tie ball game for round number 2. Everything's 2s across the board with 5 left. What a great bounce back from Outer Limits, having a tough time against Spectrum in round 1, losing 10-0. They then refocus, reassess, reconsider what their strategies are, putting a much better foot forward here, denying the cap point there. Very nicely done. Trying to secure some land in the middle, a bit of a scrape between Fishman and Mars here in the center. Mars trying to deny Fishman the land that he wants so eagerly to secure as he pushes very fast up along the south side. Suddenly, he's on the backside of the enemy's base trying to secure himself more land, actually, not even the tower. He was trying to open it up for Brandominos to push forward. And I do wonder if Outer Limits have recognized that this is the strategy coming in from Spectrum. If they have become aware of those main focal points, that the main towers that Spectrum wants to push up to so that they can double secure. And it's definitely been the focus of the Spectrum squad. Jupiter here pushing up, getting himself a couple kills. Fishman with a very crucial recognition on that potential flank. Does find one. Sees it coming in again, and Mars takes some damage. He's now in a bit of a scrape. Fishman gets picked off, trying to get back to the base and defend. Now he's got 5 seconds to respawn. Does come in, and now he can try and compete against Brandominos. Does he see Tensai trying to snag it? He does finally recognize him. Shots come in, and they're not landing, finally picking him off. But this is bad news for Spectrum. They have not been able to re-secure some major points of land that they need. Like a push, quickly denied with some good solid picks from Spectrum. Oh, and look at this! The full court press from Spectrum VR, and in a second, well, 5 seconds, they managed to secure point number 3. And with 2:20 left, you got to wonder what the plan is for Outer Limits. If they're going to try and play this slow, or if they're going to continue to throw on the aggression. Looks like a 3-man push. No, they do have Neptune staying back on the defense. He's aware of the cruciality of this landmass that has been secured. And here's the push. Can it outdo the aggression from Spectrum? That is the question. You can see the land shifting into favor of Spectrum again. Does look like Neptune's trying to counteract that, trying to rotate around. pretty nice snipe. F2. Look at this. Outer Limits with a minute and a half on the clock have gotten a ton of land grabs. They've done a great job of securing this central land. And here comes a push from Mars. He's going to be right on top of OBJ. In the meanwhile, we have Kensai on the backside also trying to cap. Mars goes down. Kensai's trying to grab the code. Can he get point number 4 for Spectrum? He does. And now with a minute left, you got to wonder what the game plan is for Outer Limits. They're going to have to get very aggressive here. That's like the third base race we've had, though. Outer Limits maybe finding an interesting way to contend against this push from Spectrum. Are they going to be aware to the defending this double push? Uh-oh, triple push coming in here. Going to take a lot for them to defend, but here comes the cap to putting in the work. One does get picked off while the flank comes in, and it's not going to be in time. Spectrum pushing up 5-2. This is the second round. I do believe we're playing a best of 3 here in the finals. Actually now confirming, just to make sure this is a best of 3, because it could be a best of 5 for the finals. As a point comes in from Outer Limits. Timer is up, and they can't push their scoreline up 5-3. They lose their second round, albeit much closer. Gotta wonder what would have happened if they did go into a third, fourth, fifth round. Maybe Outer Limits would have been able to muster up a strategy in order to beat. Able to pull it together today. Very close from that Outer Limits team. And I do think that is going to be it for our for our NA finals, excuse me. We are going to be playing multiple series today, obviously. We have the EU finals coming up in just a few minutes. And then the World finals. Give me a brief second here to get ready for our second set of matches. We'll be getting everybody in lobby and starting up shortly. Don't go anywhere. Tower Tag EU Finals coming at you in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out and patiently waiting for both of these squads to be readied up and prepared for their EU final. Today, we'll be spectating Laserland, as mentioned in the pre-show, a laser tag arcade, not a VR arcade, but they have some VR setups there. They'll be competing in the finals against VRML. Now, that's a controversial name, I suppose, because is it VR Freedom or VRedom? Who knows? Either way, they also are in lobby and ready to go, just waiting on their third player to ready up, and we will be diving in to the action pretty dang soon. Round one of this EU final should be underway in just a few seconds. Give me a moment to prep both teams, and we'll be hopping in shortly. Both squads prepped and ready for this tower tag action. If you are just tuning in, you've missed the NA finals, which did go into the hands of Spectrum VR, but you're here for the EU finals. Without further ado, let's get underway. We are just dropping in tower tag, 3v3 multiplayer game where each team is going for the enemy's goal tower. The goal tower highlighted with a big pillar of light out from the center. The way you move around through this map is by securing points of land. Once you do so, you can then teleport to that point and move forward. These white pillars here are what must be secured in order for them to move. And so a lot of the early stages of this game, as you'll see, is securing land. Right now, each squad pushing forward, trying to grab pillars so that they can be moving towards the enemy team. You can't teleport to an enemy's pillar if it's secured, and if they're at that pillar, you can't secure it. So there's different sorts of means of contending for these pieces, as Mr. Smith here in a bit of a scrap with Julian trying to vie for the center. Meanwhile, Cracker pushing up on the south side, trying to be a threat towards Kai. Kai doing a nice job of defending the south. You can see Patrick defending the north as well. So they have a decent defensive setup. In the meanwhile, Julian's trying to grab forward advanced land. A quick denial of Cracker trying to cap there. A nice defense from Julian paying off as we get into a bit of a scrap in the center. Patrick here, a serious threat right now. If he can take down Mr. Smith, he has potential of securing this OBJ. He realizes he's in a very dangerous spot. He's losing his surrounding defensive walls, and he gets picked off in what was a very forward position. Meanwhile, Kai also pretty far pushed up. He goes down, and we have a bit of a push from VRedom into this center here. A nice back and forth of land grab as each squad tries to get an advantage. Cracker on a flank does get spotted out by Julian. A great job denying him the rotation along the backside. But he is here. He does have some cover. He's tucked in behind his pillar. The rotations are coming in. Cracker's ducked down, and he secures Laserland with an early 1-point lead, 6.5 minutes into this round. Back on top. Once the point is scored, the land resets back to being neutral and available for grabbage, available to secure. Julian trying to pick off Cracker. Cracker trying to do a bit of a blind fire up over the top. And meanwhile, Zizzo pushing on objective. He's got all the cover in the world. This is going to be a tough one for them to deny. He loses his grab on the OBJ, actually, because he was so tucked in. That's going to completely reset it. And now he's getting a little support from the other side. Here comes the double tag, and Laserland, without being denied the opportunity, secure their second point. Push their lead up 2-0. Looking good at the start of this round one in these EU finals. A little south push coming in here, but a nice denial there. Gonna force Cracker to slow up. He's gonna have to reassess how he wanted to push. On board Mr. Smith trying to deal with Kai here behind his pillar. Cracker still trying to secure this node, and he does get a huge pick. That's gonna be 5 seconds of the enemy team trying to respawn, trying to deny this. Tons of shots coming in towards Cracker, but he's got the pillar for cover. Does get just picked off in the nick of time. Tries to bound forward. The VRedom team trying to secure this neutral land in the center, but Take a look at your minimap. You can see most land controlled by Laserland. That's going to mean that it's their time to push forward. And I do wonder if VRML are ready for this push, because it's going to be a 3-man press right here. Whoa. This is literally new strats I've never seen. Can you link to your teammate somehow? Can you heal a teammate? Just in the center there, I was seeing him link to his teammate instead. I don't know. We're going to have to keep an eye on Laserland. They may be tapping into some top secret strats. You can. I'm getting confirmation. Wow, why have I never seen that? That's a huge means of maintaining that forward aggression. If you have one in the back tossing out the heals, it's going to be absolutely violent. You do see that coming in there. There is another heal coming in, but not enough as the double fire able to get that pick. Cracker here just basically sitting in the center, trying to reinforce his teammates as they push and get aggressive. Mr. Smith now trying to secure his point. Look at that. That's a top tier strat coming in from him. The way he uses that pistol, that is top tier, because what he's doing is he's pushing forward, he's getting his laser onto that enemy's ice tower, and then what a lot of players do is they end up sitting behind the pillar and having their gun exposed around the pillar trying to cap it. What they've done is they go ahead and point the gun straight down. That minimizes how much the gun peeks out around the edge, minimizes the exposure of their body to enemy fire, makes it very hard for actually the enemy to deny the cap. And here comes another push up through the center. That was a nice attempt from Kai to get behind enemy lines there, as you do look on your map on the lower left. Yeah, very true. Very good point. Most of the idea of healing is certainly a cost risk assessment sort of thing, right? Do I want to be capturing land and securing that forward footing, or do I want to be reinforcing my team as they try and push forward here? Kai's in desperate need of a heal now as his health gets very low. Wow, the aggression. Does manage to find one before he's scooped up. Julian here being a threat. He's going to have to get denied. He's got reinforcement from Patrick, putting the hurt on this enemy OBJ. And if he can grab Zizou, uh-oh, it's double team just in time. Zizou does go down with a long-range shot from Kai, and Kai's trying to push forward here and be a threat towards Mr. Smith. He wants his friend to reinforce, and he is going to get that reinforcement. In the meantime, we do have a push coming in. Looks like from Cracker on the other side, gets denied. And a bit of a base battle there. We're kind of evened out now. Once again, land almost dead even for each side. You have a bit of trading in the center. Another note on the heals, it's actually sometimes hard to target your teammates because the way they duck behind the cover that's available, it is sort of hard to land that link. So I do understand maybe why we haven't seen it too often, but it's certainly a strat that I've only seen Laserland utilize, and VRML's looking good here. The land control staunchly in their advantage as Kai decides to try and flank on the south. Those missed tower secure shots, almost a beacon to his location. He quickly realizes the danger he's in. Drops back. Mr. Smith on a great rotation. Catching Kai on the drop back is going to be a serious threat. Picks him off, and now that's going to open up the center. Good bit of trading in up through the middle. The land grab in huge favor of VRML, as they now are positioning themselves to be triple threading on this Laserland of OBJ. They know the importance of getting this point, getting on the board. 38 seconds left, though. It's not going to be enough, frankly. They're going to have to do so much to grab the 3 points they need, and with 30 seconds, I just don't think there's enough time for them to even get across the map and secure 3 points. I do think it takes, we kind of got a test to that. Another point trying to pile on to this lead. Cracker here, recognizing that full court press was on from Rita, manages to sneak behind. Pushes Laserland up 4-0 on this first round. It hasn't been easy for Laserland. VRML putting up a good battle, but it just hasn't been quite enough. As that respawn timer counts down, it also means the end of round 1. Laserland coming out on top, 4-0. Their first match. overall. Top fragger, the MVP, Cracker. Hottest fire, Mr. Smith. You can see when you hold the two of the middle slots, definitely a good indicator of how your team is going to perform. Round 2 should be coming up shortly, but VRML not even able to get onto the board against the Laserland on that first round. And we did see something very similar in the NA finals. So I am curious if VRML will be able to rally back here. Muster a bit of a comeback. We did see it. We saw the fire light into the eyes of the Outer Limits squad last round, but you don't mind, give me a brief moment to hash out some tech difficulties. It looked like some lag was being experienced on one of those sides. Moment, and we'll be back to the action. Does look like both teams are readied up. Fortunate reality of an online tournament is that there may be lag from time to time. We'll see just how Laserland deals with it. They did manage to grab their first round regardless, but round number 2 ends now. No more waiting around. If you did just drop by, this is tower tag. The objective of each team, here the goal tower, has a big pillar of light shining from it and is a pretty good indicator of where you want to push towards. You'll notice that there's little other towers that are neutral right now. The way you push forward to get to the enemy tower is you secure those for your team and then you can teleport to them. So what we'll see here at the start of this round is both squads vying for land. You can see that they capture these neutral points. And once those points are captured, they can then teleport and move forward. You cannot teleport to an enemy's point, so you must capture it first before you can push. But look at this, Laserland with the double court press. In 15 seconds, almost catching VRML sleeping. Blast past the central defender. That was a heck of an interesting play, because that was them reacting to VRML's initial defense, where they had 1 south, 1 north, and 1 in the middle. Clearly not paying off as they managed to push up both forward, and now a really good reaction from VRML. They recognize that that's what Laserland did. They're aware of the strategy, and they've put 2 on these pillars. You cannot secure a pillar when an enemy is on it physically, so a great way to deny the enemy from advancing. A couple of picks do reset everyone, and we're going to be back into the central battle shortly. caps coming in. Looks like it's going to be Zizou trying to secure the point, but he drops it. Drops it again. And in his efforts to secure it, he does get picked off. Here comes another push on the other side. Can they deny the cap coming in from Cracker? They can't. Laserland pushing up 2-0. Against VRML, the land resets after each point scored, and you can see them diving back in to secure more. They need to push forward towards the enemy OBJ. Or objective. Otherly rotation coming in here. This could be dangerous. This is going unnoticed by VRML. Oh, just in time the rotation from Julian. Able to deny that flank, and they need to resecure that south land if they want to prevent that fast push from happening again. Could be really bad news for Laserland if they lose Zizou. Oh, it was looking like an opportunity for a full flank, but the quick drop back preventing that from happening. Zizou doing a great job of defending, picks off another one in the north. A great bit of defense here from Laserland, preventing VRML from pushing forward. They are on the back foot. A ton of land is in the control of VRML, so it's going to be hard for them to counter push when those picks come out. And here comes the cap attempt. Julian with tons of cover, and the double team from VRML secures them a point in this must-win round 2. Oh, it does look like we've had a DC from Laserland. Brief moment here while we hash out the tech difficulties. We're probably just going to restart this. Would be unfortunate for Laserland, considering that they were up 2-0 at the start of that series. Very early at that. Can you guys all hear me? Edom, are you there? Can you guys hear me? Oh, you guys can hear me. I don't. Sorry, I'm trying to solve the issues with the players right now, trying to figure out this lobby. You are just dropping by. I do appreciate you. We are dealing with some technical difficulties at the moment. One of the teams has lost their player, so we're trying to get back in action. Don't mind just out a bit longer. And if you are just dropping by, head on over to the vrmasterleague.com website. All the other have there. A bunch of casts going on as well. A lot of good VR esports action available right at your fingertips. Got to go to the website. Also, head on over to Virtual Athletics League Discord. Be involved in the arcade tournaments, especially if you own an arcade. It's highly recommended that you get yourself involved with that organization so you can offer your players the best experience in VR esports. Also, if you are curious, my name is NightFiree with 2 E's. Follow me on Twitter under the NightFiree. There are imposters out there. Got to be careful. Aside from that, I think / hope everybody is ready on the Laserland side and we can be shortly. All right, you guys can hear me now? Okay, perfect. Do believe that we have hashed out the technical difficulties here. What you should be seeing is Laserland scoring 2 points, VRML scoring 1. Brief intermission here while we wait for that to unfold. I'm not sure what these guys are doing. They just need to send one up forward to capture the objective. Okay. 2-0. Now VRML gets their opportunity to get their point on the board. Laserland gang waiting for that to happen. Now we're underway. All scores have been set accordingly. We did have some DC issues, so we had to do this so that we could play it out, but now both squads are back at it. They should be dueling it out for the remainder of these points in the series. Our way of dealing with the technical difficulties we've experienced as we dive right back into the central firefight here. Kai able to find one. This is going to be a nice opportunity for VRML to push forward. In the meanwhile, Cracker is flanking, and that is quickly recognized by Kai. A nice denial of him, preventing him from being able to push forward. A double team, actually, as Julian also tries to get in on the action. He gets picked up from behind. Managed to pick off who they were looking for. Zizao is on OBJ. Where's the defense coming in? Shots ringing out, catching him in the bottom, grabbing him just in time. Gets denied the opportunity to push up his team 3-1. That's a huge denial for VRML. This is a must-win round for them as they did lose their first round 4-0. So they need to secure the points. They need to get on the board here. A push coming in from the backside. Cracker trying to get his picks, but can't quite do it. Here comes the full press. All three have pushed up towards the center. Mr. Smith in a forward position, and this is interesting. He's just holding that land point, preventing Kai from being able to capture it. He wasn't even teleporting to it. He was just keeping his laser on it. In the meanwhile, we do have a flank from Zizao, trying his hand at getting behind enemy lines, and they're trying to overwhelm VRML's map control. On the flank, secures his team their third point. And because all those land points were owned by Laserland that were surrounding the objective, it made it very hard for VRML to push up and secure that. They couldn't even get the angles behind the enemy to shoot him because they didn't have the option of physically moving their bodies to that location because they had to first capture pillars if they wanted to do so. So these flanks really important. This is going to be bad news as there's a double flank coming in. It's going to be 2, capping the OBJ extra fast. That's going to be 4 points for Laserland as they start to run away with round 2 and the series. Laserland versus Spectrum VR should be a very interesting battle to watch go. I don't know who's going to come out on top there. That will be coming up next if Laserland can secure this second round in this best of 3. squad push overwhelms the defense of VR Edom, and now you have the cap coming in from Zizou. Where are the shots going to land? They do manage to get behind him. Not before another push can come in, and here comes the double cap, overwhelming the defense of VR Edom and securing their 5th point. Laserland continues to press the lead. Attempt. They should be able to get behind him just in time. Smith couldn't get there to keep that point, that tower point up, and he goes down. This is a good time for VRML to bounce back and secure some land while they have this respawn timers up. Everybody's back on the board for Laserland, though, and instantly they begin pushing OBJ again. Shots coming in that are landing onto Ziz. There's a couple of... Oh my goodness, they get Ziz, but not before the rotation. Coming in from Mr. Smith grabs Laserland their 6th point. They are running away with this series. 1:40 on the clock. There may be enough time for VR Edom to bounce back, but 5 unanswered points is a tall order against a team like Laserland that's been performing pretty well so far. Shots from Patrick there to deny Cracker the potential objective cap. We're battling it out in the center. Good land grabs from Mr. Smith. They're going to make it easy for his teammates to push forward and get into some advantageous positions. This looks like the double press. They're trying to secure that objective point. Mr. Smith with no walls to defend himself. He goes down, and still the land control in heavy favor of this Laserland team, and with 40 seconds left, all they really need to do is maintain this sort of land control. They could easily whittle that clock down. Instead, they're pushing for a 7th point. They secure it, and honestly, those points do tick away on the clock. Time counts down between rounds. It's about 10 seconds of you burning time once you secured a point. So good moves from Laserland. That's going to put them up in a dominating lead for round number 2. No comeback available for VR Edom as they take the EU Finals. Laserland looking good. 4-0 on map 1 and 7-1 on map number 2. Take a gander at your overall KDs and stats here. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for hanging out and tuning in to this Tower Tag tournament hosted in collaboration with Virtual Athletics League and VRML. We are proud to bring to you the top 2 teams in the world of Tower Tag. Spectrum VR versus Laserland. All the way around, I suppose, just to keep things simplified. We'll be duking it out in the World Finals. Curious to see how this is going to shake out, considering how well both teams have just performed. I'm going to drop in and give both teams the heads up, and we're going to get right into the action with round number 1. So don't go anywhere. Give me a few seconds. Squads are all readied up, prepared for the action. They know what's at stake. There's some prize pool on the line here. They need their must wins. Without further ado, let's hop into round 1 of the World Finals of the Tower Tag Tournament. If you are just tuning in and aren't familiar with the concept, Tower Tag is a 3v3 objective-focused game. Each team is trying to capture the enemy's goal tower. The way you maneuver around this map is by capturing these neutral nodes spread throughout the map. Once you capture them, you can then teleport to them, so a lot of the game comes down to map control. As you can see at the start of this series, both squads are going to try to secure neutral land. That's going to allow them to quickly push forward and compete for that objective. We'll see how that shakes up as we do see both squads pushing forward. This is looking like an early Laserland objective cap as they have 2 offensive pushes coming in from both sides and grabbing that objective point in just under 30 seconds. Laserland surprising the Spectrum VR squad by pushing forward so quickly and underneath their nose. They're leaving this lane super exposed. A bit of a trade and a battle going on here up on the south and north. Like north was won. South is still underway. The push coming in from Brandominos gets him danger close. A nice frag back from Kensai. We're into a bit of a trade here in the middle. Zizao and Fishman trying to duke it out. Fishman's trying to get forward into an advantageous position where he can secure some land for his team. Now getting a point that's going to allow him to push forward and potentially cap. Zizao does see this. He's trying to get the shots. Has a clear line of sight onto Brandominos, and down he goes. In the meantime, a cap coming in from Cracker on the backside may secure his team another point. Tons of fire raining in on him, but he stays close to the ground and can't quite get it. A great defensive, coordinated effort, but a lot of resources invested. All the while that was happening, they've lost map control, and you can see in the lower hand corner of your of the screen here that this map control is not looking good as the push comes in again from Laserland. Very solid lead here, and early on at that in this first round. They've pushed up 2-0 in just under a minute. Confirming now this is going to be another best of 3. I believe it is, as this first round keeps swinging into the hands of Laserland. The 3rd point on the board. They are making short work of this Spectrum squad. This is the last thing I expected. I was anticipating a very close back and forth here. How good Spectrum has been performing against the NA squads, but Laserland innovating on their strategies. They have a healer that sits back, and I don't see that coming out of Spectrum, and they just keep pushing. Here comes another cap attempt. Can they deny Mr. Smith this objective? I doubt it, as he grabs point number 4. EU dominating the field here, dominating this World's Final. Going to be a tough comeback here for Spectrum. They really need to start answering back now. They need to deny this push strategy that Laserland has been using pretty consistently, where they just go right up the middle. Here it comes again. Another push from Cracker. He's going to try and grab a 5th point for Laserland. And where's the defense? No shots here to deny him. Nobody flanking on the south, even though they had the land available. And ultimately, Laserland running away with this first round. 4:40 left on the clock. It does leave room for Spectrum to come back, but that window, that gap, is getting wider and wider between the teams here. They do see a push coming in. Look at that quick defense drop back Now is the opportunity for Spectrum to try and get some of this land in the center. Finally, the defense of Spectrum is denying Laserland this push right up to the front of their base. They're maintaining control of important points of land, but look at the quick reaction from Mr. Smith. He realizes that these squads have been picking up those points and defending properly, and now he goes around for the flank where he can potentially come in and grab himself with a couple of picks. A nice denial on OBJ, but here comes the push from Laserland, and they got all the land that they could ask for. Another nice pickup's going to open it up for a potential cap. Is that Cracker again? It is. He's been the highlight of this team as he caps the points, and he gets himself a 6th point. Laserland just running away with round 1. The commitment is pretty evident on this Laserland squad. They have strategies that I haven't seen before. They're going prone to capture these objectives. That means in real life they are hitting the deck and laying down on those floors to secure these points. They're putting everything they can on the line in order to grab themselves the lead. But here comes another push, a counter push rather, from Spectrum. The first one we've seen yet, and can they get this point? A similar duck down strategy to Cracker, but the flank is the only differentiating component as Spectrum gets denied the point that they were so close to securing. One thing I see Laserland doing pretty well is they secure points before they push to them. They're well aware that once you have a point, you can teleport so quickly up the map between points you've secured that they are very intentional about what pieces of land they're grabbing. Here comes a push. Brandomino's trying to grab the point, but there's one defender on it. That's going to prevent the cap from coming on, and Zizhao is going to sit there fully healed up. The push coming in from Cracker on the backside. He gets denied. A nice couple of shots landing there. We're into a bit of a stalemate. Not exactly what Spectrum need, as they need to basically consistently rack up points right now if they want to come back from this 6-0 deficit. Aren't quite able to do that as Cracker here looks to add another point onto his team's lead. He's trying to go up 7-0. Gets shot from all sorts of angles, using the walls for cover. He does get picked up. I was curious what he was doing there, why he had gone down. That was the 7th point. Okay. And sometimes can't quite see those caps come in, but that is going to be 7-0 for round number 1. And as a reminder, this is a best of 3, so Laserland just need to secure this round and the one following it if they want to become the world champions. Right now, they are just dominating. I cannot believe how well they're doing against this Spectrum squad. Spectrum was looking so good against all of their NA opponents, and now to go 8-0, at least in this first round against Laserland, is troubling. I'm curious to see how they'll bounce back and if they have a plan of approach for how they can make round 2 a little less decided by Laserland. Right now, it's going to be impossible for them to secure 8 points in 50 seconds. So that option is really off the table. Instead, they need to assess, they need to regroup, figure out how they can come back from losing this round 1 like this. How they're going to be able to counteract that early aggression from Laserland so that they can come out into round 2 just stronger earlier. I think having such a huge deficit like this in a game like this makes it super challenging because it really takes 30 seconds to get to the objective. Maybe 15, depending on if you're team capturing points, but it's a time invested to even get to the OBJ, and so now with 15 on the clock, this one is pretty much locked up into Laserland's hands. Round 1's going to be going to them in a dominating fashion. Can Mr. Smith tack on another point in time? It doesn't look like he can as he gets scooped up. And that's going to be round 1, 8-0 into the hand of Laserland. The KD's kind of close. Not a huge deficit there, but everybody on Laserland is in the double digits. That's that deciding component, putting them up so much in this first round. It's going to be a lot for Spectrum to have to react off that. I think they're a team that is certainly capable of coming back here and answering back against Laserland, but Right now, things are looking good for the EU champions. They're looking to take this world decider, this World Series, into their hands. I wonder if we can say that without getting copyright. The World Cup into their hands. I'm going to drop in and make sure both squads are readied up for round 2. Give me a brief moment and we'll be right back into the action. Both squads readied up and prepared for the action. The Tower Tag World Finals Season 1 are underway, brought to you by the Virtual Athletics League and the Virtual Master League, VR Master League. If you're interested, head on over to vrmasterleague.com. You can register for any one of the leagues we have available. Or head on over to the Virtual Athletics League, where you can get your arcade to participate in these events. We're about to see how Laserland squares off against Spectrum in round number 2. If you are just dropping by, it's a 3v3 game mode where each team is trying to capture the enemy's ice tower, or not ice tower, excuse me, goal tower. If they do that, they get 1 point on the board and they get reset back to their spawn positions. With Laserland taking that first point in just under 15 seconds, you gotta wonder what Spectrum's plan of approach is here. Be a bit more defensive. We'll hover over their land grabs and see what they're going for here. This is interesting. They're aware of the potential of a quick flank and have secured north and south, but are they aware of the potential of a quick push right up the center? That's the question, as Zizou's down here and grabs Laserland in, again, 20 seconds. Their first point. Early set of picks is going to make it look good for Spectrum. Maybe that's what they really need to be focusing on, is landing those shots and securing themselves with some picks so that they can even get the land they need. Laserland just keeps applying the pressure onto Spectrum, though, and now we have one right on top of the objective. Fishman's trying to defend, but he's getting a double push on this objective, and it's quickly secured. Laserland up 2-0 in just a minute's time. We are live here in the World Final Tower Tag Series. NA champions Spectrum VR versus Laserland. The EU champions, they're looking to step up their lead in round 2, 3-0. The pressure continues to get applied to Spectrum, and they cannot find a way to answer back. Making it incredibly hard for the Spectrum team. Laserland just keeps applying the pressure. They keep pushing forward. They keep finding the picks. Landing those shots. A good rotation from Mr. Smith, catching out Kensai. Fishman able to deny the push there. And these 2 points have been crucial for the Laserland team. They're very familiar with how they want to push. They're great at double grabbing and pushing forward. Shots coming in from Brandominos here, not quite landing as he gets scooped up, hit in the backside. No heal coming in from Fishman to re-bolster him as Zizou rotates back around, catches out Kensai. Can he find another as he begins his push? I honestly think the difference here between Laserland and Spectrum is that Laserland utilizes the heal. They maintain full health on their players. They are aware of the catastrophe of losing one and what it ultimately costs you. And the push keeps getting applied. It's a constant press. One pick after another, and Laserland keeps throwing their teammates at the objective. Finally, no! Can't get that 4th point. A very close denial, but not in a good spot yet. Spectrum still has a ton of land to grab if they want to feel safe, as here comes the double court press. This is going to be point number 4 on the board for Laserland. Right now, this is a must-win point for Spectrum. They absolutely need to get themselves on the board. They absolutely need to prevent Laserland from securing a 5th point and extending that lead. You need to get on the board, but they're not paying attention to these flanks that are happening. Zizou's ducking down undercover looking for his 5th point. And with support from his teammate, he gets it 5-0. With 4 minutes left on the clock for his team Laserland. They are looking like they may very well indeed take this World Finals in dominating fashion. 8-0 on round 1, and now 5-0 for round 2. Laserland looking good. The heals, honestly, I think, being the most important factor of this Laserland squad. The separating element from this playstyle of Spectrum. It does keep their players full health, hardy, and robust enough to push forward and capture points as they're looking to push the lead 6-0. Cracker secures it. And now Spectrum have only 3.5 minutes to answer back. That's half the round gone. And they're gonna have to do it. I mean, they gotta really step it up and play almost like a different squad here. You can see they're trying to send 3 spread out, 1 north, 1 middle, 1 south, in order to secure. Laserland has been consistently winning the trades, putting themselves into a position where they can dominate, and Zizou flanking again. They have not figured out this pushing strategy from Laserland, that is for certain. The score continues. The score gap, excuse me, continues to become wider and wider in this World Finals matchup. This could be the series decider. If Laserland take this, they are crowned the world champions. They will have beaten Spectrum, our NA champions, in such a fashion I would have never seen coming. I mean, Laserland here just breaking out some innovative strats that are really throwing Spectrum for a loop. And honestly, it's just a little bit of a base race here. I think Zizou was here first, but he goes down as well does the attacking Spectrum player. He gets picked off and back into a bit of a land grab. Two minutes on the clock. The KDs aren't even that spread out. You can see on the board there, scoreline's pretty dang close. Everybody finding picks, everybody finding kills. Spectrum's just not able to get themselves on the board. 1:50 left. The clock is ticking down. The end of this tournament is coming closer and closer every second as Spectrum VR get picked off, and another cap attempt from Cracker. He ducks down but gets scooped up. Here comes the reinforcement. Laserland advance 8-0. I think only a minute left on the clock. This is looking like it's all but secured for this Laserland team. At this point, Spectrum really should just try and get on the board to be skunked in the finals. Would certainly not be optimal. And I think they've learned to not let these flanks happen. They've invested 2 on the defense. Mr. Smith caught up in a bit of a crossfire as he does get the flank support from his teammate. Zizou is going to be in a great spot to help double cap, and Cracker reinforcing. That's going to be it. Point number 9 with a minute left for Laserland. Wow. Just an absolutely dominating performance from Team Laserland here today. All that laser tag clearly has been training them and honing in their skill set for this very exact moment. The teamwork is on point. The coordination is there. Laserland now put their scoreline into the double digits. Just adding insult to injury at this point. Round number 2 will be going into their hands. There's no possible way for Spectrum to come back from this sort of deficit with only 10 seconds left on the clock. We're proud here at the Virtual Athletics League and the VRML to present to you the Tower Tag World Finalists. Laserland stand atop the host of dead team bodies that we have here. They have dominated the arcade scene and come out as the world champions. I am almost speechless. I was not expecting a scoreline like this today from this team. I really was anticipating Spectrum to sort of just be there and we'd have a lot closer back and forth. Instead, we just get an absolute show, if you will, of a performance from this Laserland team, breaking in new strategies, sneaking through the offensive line, getting points that they should not have gotten, and just coordinating almost every single push. They had very few points scored where it was just one person securing the goal. They mostly invested 2 or sometimes 3 players into securing that cap, and wow, what a fantastic performance there from Laserland. They are our world champions of Tower Tag. Now they have a title to defend. If I was a gambling man, I'd very much say that there's going to be more Tower Tag tournaments coming at you, especially hosted by the Virtual Athletics League. So if you have any arcades around, make sure to bug those arcades. Tell them to get Tower Tag if they don't already, because it is one of the top arcade esport games, in my opinion. Absolutely spectacular sets of matches to watch, and when you have 2 teams that are practiced and with strategies, you just get some great battles. Today, we really had blowout performances. Spectrum dominating their NA finals, Laserland dominating the EU, and then here coming out on top in the World Finals, 8-0 round 1, 10-0 for round 2. Absolutely the team to beat in future seasons, the team you're going to have to keep an eye on, as I'm sure they'll be looking to invest into more esports, VR esports opportunities. But with that, we will be signing off here on the VRML. Quick shout out to everybody that's been involved in this tournament. Virtual Athletics League first and foremost for organizing this entire thing, getting the Tower Tag team on board, getting all of the arcades on board, providing a source of organization, and hosting a great pre-show for this finals. Big shout out to the Virtual Athletics League. Obviously, shout out to the VRML for hosting the tournament. If you want to learn more about the VR Master League, head on over to vrmasterleague.com. Check out all of the titles that we host leagues for. They include Onward, Echo Arena, Space Junkies, Contractors, Pavlov, Final Assault. There's a host of games for you to get involved on the esports scene. Also, a shout out to ProTube VR and VR Cover, the sponsors for VR Master League. We always appreciate their support, offering prizes for the winners. And with that, we'll be signing off. My name is NightFiree with 2 E's. Thank you so much for tuning into this Tower Tag tournament. Hope to see you again for more VR esports action. Make sure to follow this channel and any other Master League channel. With that, I said that like 10 times already. Signing off. See you later.